What's up, everybody? Rob Anderson, Clean Power Wash, Salisbury, Maryland. I hope the echo's not going to be too bad in here. Rocking my Dave Carroll Need Help with Facebook shirt. I always love wearing it. It's hilarious, the reactions that I get out of people. So today's Black Friday, technically day 15, power washing full time. Just did one gutter job. Guy really wanted to have it done on Black Friday because he was going to be off from work. I went over and did it, gave my guys a day off, saying, hey, if they really wanted to, they could do it, but figured they'd enjoy the time to do other things. So a couple recent posts have been asking about surface cleaners, seeing some awesome deals with some of the vendors, and what tip size to put in them. I know I've answered this a couple times, but I don't think I've necessarily been quite as thorough on it. So just wanted to kind of explain a couple things. The reason why I do put the tips in that I do, and why I think that it's a better way to do it. First of all, as far as the degree size, now you can have people that'll complain this way or not complain, but believe one way or another, 15 versus 25 degree, 30 degree, 20, whatever, I don't know. 15 and 25 are pretty much the two standards. The reason to go with a 25, and this is from talking with Russ, I think actually at the Gaithersburg convention. Obviously, 25 is going to cover a larger area versus 15. This is an official 25, 15 angle. The reason to go with a 25 though is because as the tip wears down, it's going to become a smaller and smaller and smaller angle. So eventually, it's just a straight hole. Now, it's going to be a bigger hole than was originally there, but let's just say you've used it for 1,000 hours or whatever. You should probably switch out your tips anyways. But at that point, that 15 degree would probably be a 0 degree and be marking up concrete more than if you took that 25 and after all that time it's worn down to a 15. You're more likely to get to the point where the actual tip has taken such abuse from grit and everything else here. As far as the tip size, so again, that's the angle. So the first two numbers you'll see will be like 25 and then 0.2 or 0.25. So the 25 is the angle. The other size is the orifice. Now, technically for spec, if you want to get 4,000 psi, 4 gallons a minute, out of 2 tips, you'd run 2502s. It's 25 degrees, 2 gallons per minute each tip, 4 gallons a minute, 4,000 psi. I have modified my surface cleaner so I don't have any smaller line. It's literally 3/8 all the way. I don't go through a gun. I use a ball valve, and you can find that in some of the other videos. The reason why what I do though is I use oversized tips for 2 big reasons. Number one, improved flow. If you run those 2502s, I guarantee you that you're getting some amount of bypass back to your tank. And any amount of water that's bypassing back to your tank, and again, you're not going to get 100% water through there. But if you put less resistance in the line getting to your surface cleaner, you're more likely to, scratch my face, whatever, get the maximum amount of flow. It will reduce your PSI a little bit. Sorry, I'm getting Facebook notices about stupid stuff. But what I like to do is instead of doing those 2502s, let's say you're doing a 4 gallon a minute machine, even if you bump it up to 2503s, let's say 2 2503s, you're going to get a little bit more flow to come through. You're going to get a little bit less PSI, but we're not talking about taking it down from 4,000 PSI to 3,500. And actually, when you put your pressure gauge, if you've got 2502s in there, which I tested this as well, at the actual swivel, which is as far down as I could put the pressure gauge, I was getting somewhere between around 3,200 PSI. By going with larger tips, I actually am able to get more flow and more cleaning power that way. The other big reason to go with a larger tip is because then you're able to avoid some of the clogs. Now, you should have a high pressure inline filter, or at least most times people will say that, for protection on there. Some people will not do that. They'll just put better strainers before the pump. But when I'm running my 8 gallon a minute machine, I'm running 25055s. So it's technically for 11 gallons a minute. Now my pump is a 8 gallon a minute, 3,500 PSI Pressure Pro with, I believe, a Comet pump on it. And it literally wants to fly off the ground. Now if you go, and here's the other thing, buy the 4-tip bar. Buy the 4-tip model, because you're only going to spend $20 to $30 more, or maybe $50 to get that 4-tip bar instead of the 2-tip. Even if you've only got a 4 gallon a minute machine, or if you got a 5.5 and you'd have to run smaller tips, get the 4-tip bar, and then on the outside you put your tips, on the inside you put your plugs. So that way, if you've got, again, what I would do is I would have 25003s or 25035s on that outside, and then, so we're running the 5 gallon a minute machine. Again, that's technically for 7 gallons a minute, but I get better cleaning, better performance, and I'll show you in the videos, it wants to fly off the ground when I've got those bigger tips in there than when I have 4 smaller tips. It just works. So then if we go from the 5.5, we want to throw the 8 gallon a minute on there, take out those 2 plugs, throw in some 25003s or 25035s, and then I'm ready to go. At that point, I'm technically able to push 14 gallons a minute through it. But again, we're not talking about dropping this PSI from 2,000 down to 500 or even 1,000 PSI. Again, I have to put 100 feet of hose or be kind of pushing down on the surface cleaner to get it to not fly off the ground when I'm running it with those tips. So, no, went a little bit long, but again, that's the whole point with this. So bigger tips. So go with the 25s, unless you're really are convinced that a 15 is going to work better. But again, it's a larger cleaning area, so that right there should settle it. And then go with those oversized tips, because it's going to boost your cleaning power. It's also going to improve, the amount of uptime you have, because you're not going to get as many clogs. And also, the size of a particle that would need to block a 2502 is super duper small and super duper difficult to get out, versus if something's blocking a 25055 tip, it's a stinking pebble. And I'm going to be able to poke the pebble out with the little dental picks in about 2 seconds, versus with the much smaller ones, it's just more difficult. So again, that's my philosophy behind the surface cleaner tips. I hope that helps, guys. Have a great night.